Today we have Anita Mataji's joined, Divya Gaurangi Mataji, Chandrika Mataji, we've got Girish Prabhu, Mayank Prabhu, and Pramod Prabhu. So it's now 1 minute past 6. We try to normally start promptly on 6. So Mataji, maybe you start the kirtan, and then after you finish, then I'll do the introduction. Then we'll have more people here then.
Okay, thank you. Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama 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 Hare Krishna Krishna Hare Rama Rama Nitai Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Bol, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Hare Krishna. That was beautiful. Thank you. So welcome, dear devotees. Today we have 12 or 11 others online. We have Kishore Prabhu, Anita Mataji, Bhagavati Mataji, Chandrika Mataji, Divya Gaurangi Mataji, Girish Prabhu, Hema Mataji, Mayank Prabhu, Nimisha Mataji, and Pramod Prabhu, and normally Jayashri Mataji is also with him. So welcome to all of you all. For today's Sangha, we have a very special program today. That's because we have a very special guest, Her Grace Malini Nitai Mataji. So I'll just say a few words about Malini Nitai Mataji first, and then we will move into our program. So many of you may know her already because she's so much part of the Bhaktivedanta Manor community. But just a little bit of history about Mataji. She joined ISKCON in 1990 in Serbia, and she started off with the most important service of book distribution, and then also distributing Krishna Prashadam. From 1992 to 1995, she went on Padayatra, traveling all the way between Belfast and Moscow. She then joined the Bhaktivedanta Manor temple as a brahmacharini in 1995. And from 1995 to 1998, she was very involved in doing traveling Sankirtan and also Pujari service. And in 1998, she married His Grace Nila Madhava Prabhu, who was one of the main Pujaris at Bhaktivedanta Manor. And in between all of her services, she juggles raising and looking after 3 teenage children. She's part of the Pujari team and does regular Pujari service. She's also a mentor. She has 5 mentees who she guides. She's also part of the initiation committee. And she has been in Krishna consciousness, well, from what we know, in this life for 31 years. So she's a very senior devotee, and it's a privilege for us to have her share her realizations in Krishna consciousness with us. So in terms of today's program, Mataji will speak to us about the Shishashtakam prayers, the 8 prayers given to us by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And she'll give us some, obviously in limited time, she can explain so much, but she can only say, and she's going to extract some nectar for us, and she'll speak on that. And then she'll dedicate some time, or not time, and maybe she'll weave it into us, into the Shishashtakam prayers. She'll talk about devotee relationships and Vaishnava etiquette, and leave some time for questions at the end. So thank you so much, Malini Nitai Mataji. I will now hand over to you.
Thank you so much, and thank you to all the Vaishnava devotees present. I'm very honored and privileged to be with you here this evening, and I'm just, plodding along like everybody else, trying to develop as a devotee. So in this instance, I would just like to share a few things about Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu that I felt were quite important along the way in our journey to Krishna. So before I start, I would just like to offer my respectful obeisances to my spiritual master, Srila Jayapataka Swami Maharaj. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Jayapataka Swami Niti Namine Acharya Padya Niti Kripa Pradayane Gora Katha Damoda Nagara Grantarine. Then to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shmuradi Patmata Deshatarine. To offer my humble obeisances to all devotees present, Vanchakalpatarubhascha, Kripa Sindhubhyeva Cha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo Namo Namaha, and ask for your blessings that what I say is in line with with Krishna consciousness. So if anybody has any questions or something, then maybe there will be a little, I will make some little breaks in between so you can ask questions or you can write them down and we can try to tackle them later because the time is short, so I'll try to go quickly. So first of all, we all know about Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as one of the hidden avatars that Krishna appeared out of his causeless mercy. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in 1486, and he was with us for 48 years, of which 24 years was as a sannyasi. And first 24 years he was very scholarly, he was very involved in preaching, but not to the scale of as a sannyasi. So one can wonder, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, such a caliber of, obviously it's the Lord himself, but even from just externally looking, he was extremely knowledgeable, yet he left us only 8 verses as a legacy. The only thing we can conclude from that is that Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left those 8 verses because more or less all of the Krishna consciousness is sort of condensed in those 8 verses. Those 8 verses are mentioned in Chaitanya Charitamrita in Antya Lila, chapter 20 and 12, and then it goes on, they're like sort of scattered around a bit in every like other, but if anybody wants to read more about it, can take a notice. Chaitanya Charitamrita Antya Lila, chapter 20, verse 12, and then onwards it goes on. But for this, I wanted to ask, first of all, we talk about these verses as essence, and with the first verse starting with the Chetodarpana Marjanam, which says cleansing the mirror of the heart. I just wanted to say read something quickly, which comes from Bhaktivinoda Thakur from Chaitanya Shikshamrita, because it's important to understand first who are we and what's our eternal position, right? So what are we actually cleaning? So this comes to sort of like, in order to purify something, first we need to understand what are we actually purifying, who are we? So there is a beautiful explanation here. So this is Sri Chaitanya Shikshamrita, the first rainfall is called, by Bhaktivinoda Thakur, and it just says that since the Lord does not have the gross form as possessed by material objects, he cannot be perceived by our material senses. Because of this attribute, he is called formless in the Vedas. However, just as all objects have their natural form, the Lord also has his own form. Material objects have only material form. On the other hand, conscious living entities have Chaitanya Svarupa, a conscious spiritual form. Human beings, although they are ultimately spiritual entities, have a material body additionally. Thus, our constitutional spiritual form has become hidden within the material form. Anyway, then it goes on and on. So this is just to lay up some sort of foundation. So now we know we are spirit souls covered within this material body with mind, intelligence, and ego. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving us condensed knowledge, first of all, how to clean our heart, how to understand Krishna, what are the obstacles, and ultimate goal, Krishna Prema. So Prabhu, if you would like to put the prayers on the screen. I was just wondering, is it okay that maybe each person can just read the verse translation so we can get, everybody can get involved? Would it be okay? I can start with the first.
Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. I think what I'm going to do, because of the time constraints, I'm not going to read the Sanskrit. We're just going to do the translation. So I'll start with the verse number 1, and then each devotee can just continue reading the translation so we can go through all the 8 verses. So, first verse. All glories to Shri Krishna Sankirtan, which cleanses the heart of all dust accumulated for years and extinguishes the fire of conditional life, of repeated birth and death. This Sankirtan movement is the prime benediction for humanity at large because it spreads the rays of the benediction moon. It is the life of all transcendental knowledge. It increases the ocean of transcendental bliss, and it enables us to fully taste the nectar for which we are always anxious.
Chandrika Mataji, you could read the next one.
O my Lord, your holy name alone can render all benediction to living beings, and thus you have hundreds and millions of names, like Krishna and Govinda. In these transcendental names, you have invested all your transcendental energies. There are not even hard and fast rules for chanting these names. O my Lord, out of kindness, you enable us to easily approach you by your holy names, but I am so unfortunate that I have no attraction for them.
Thank you. Girish Prabhu.
Prabhuji, I will do because
Yes.
Prabhuji has gone to temple, please.
Okay.
So, one should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all senses of false prestige, and one should be ready to offer all respects to other. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Kishore Prabhu, you can read the next one, number 4, please.
O Almighty Lord, I have no desire to accumulate wealth, nor do I desire beautiful women, nor do I want any number of followers. I only want your causeless devotional service, birth after birth.
Thank you. Anita Mataji, you can read 5 for us, please.
O son of Maharaja Nanda, I am your eternal servitor, yet somehow or some other or others, I have fallen into ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of death and place me as one of the atoms at your lotus feet.
Thank you. Bhagavati Mataji, could you read 6 for us, please?
Hare Krishna. Yeah. Oh my Lord, when will my eyes be decorated with tears of love, flowing constantly when I chant your holy name? When will my voice choke up? And when will the hairs of my body stand on end at the recitation of your names? Thank you.
Thank you. Pramod Prabhu, can you read 7, please?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I will do it. Prabhu's just stepped away.
Okay.
O Govinda, feeling your separation, I am considering a moment to be like 12 years or more. Tears are flowing from my eyes like torrents of rain, and I am feeling all vacant in the world in your absence.
Thank you. Nimisha Mataji, you could read 8, please.
I know no one but Krishna as my Lord, and he shall remain so even if he handles me roughly by his embrace or makes me broken-hearted by not being present before me. He is completely free to do anything and everything, for he is always my worshipable Lord unconditionally.
Thank you.
Wow, so such a wonderful reading from all of you, and such a beautiful prayers from Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If you can see systematically, as we read, there is a sort of natural progression between, first of all, when it says Chaitodarpana Marjanam, cleaning the heart that after the lifetimes of material life. So basically trying to wake up our spiritual our spiritual transcendental nature. Then it talks about the consequences. How do we do? It says by the chanting of the holy name. Then it goes to the verse number 2. Sorry, thank you. So next one goes right. Krishna is within his holy names. That's where the power comes. That's why it's possible to achieve this, because Krishna in his holy name is the one person who can easily remove all those obstacles. And in the verse number 3 is, how do we do it? It says, by chanting the holy name in a humble state of mind, we can attract the Lord to come within his holy name with all of his potencies and help us on our path. Then in the verse number 4, once we understand with humility that we are transcendental spirit souls and that we need to surrender, Then we pray to Krishna, please, we become conscious of our conditionings, and then we pray to the Lord by telling, right, Lord, I can see I've got all these contaminations, so please, I don't want to pray for any of that. I don't want to pray for you for the wealth, name, fame, and glory. I just want to pray for your pure devotional service. Then in the verse number 5, our spiritual life continues to grow when, after getting purified more and more from the material attachments, we come to conclusion, oh my dear Lord, oh Krishna, son of Maharaj Nanda, I am your eternal servitor. Somehow or other, I'm fallen into this world of birth and death. But please, whatever you can do to make me, like, to accept me even just as an atom at your lotus feet, which shows great progress into self-realization, understanding that we are minute living entities and entirely dependent on Krishna's mercy. Then in the verse number 6, Lord Chaitanya shows again, started to express the mood, more of the mood of Srimati Radharani, when he's saying, when will my eyes be decorated with the tears of love? When will I actually experience this ecstasy of love? What is described here is the longing for Krishna. How can we long for Krishna? We can only long for Krishna, first of all, if we understand Krishna a little bit, if we feel attracted to Krishna. So in our heart, we actually have desire to achieve Krishna. And third, we at the same time, we understand that we are really far away from Krishna. Understanding that we are far away from Krishna means we understand that we have a lots of work to do. And when we are aware of how much work we've got to do, the natural humility sets in, because we can see, wow, I'm so far away. So please, Krishna, help me here, right? So the verse number 6, the verse number 7 goes on. When that separation grows, and when we start feeling more and more in love with Krishna, when the rasa becomes stronger, when we become more purified, then we start feeling, right, I feel your separation. But now it comes to the point when these feelings we can only experience in a minute form, because verse 7 and 8 describe Mahabhava, which is only applicable to Srimati Radharani. So we can just get the idea what love, how powerful love is to Krishna, and some small part of that, if we are lucky enough, we might experience. But now Lord Chaitanya, in the mood of Srimati Radharani, feels that one moment of separation from Krishna is like a 12 years, and basically feeling that without Krishna, the whole world is just empty and meaningless. And then finally in the verse number 8, that this is, so we are going back, so this is the mood of Srimati Radharani. Lord Chaitanya is expressing that sentiment, that basically saying, whatever Krishna does, this is linked to past time when Krishna disappeared from Rasa dance and Radharani was looking for him. So she felt very heartbroken that Krishna disappeared. But then at the same time she said, Krishna, even when you disappear, and even if you handle me roughly like that you're ignoring me, nevertheless, you are my only worshipable Lord. And if that gives you pleasure, if it gives you pleasure to see me suffer, so be it, because your happiness is more important than my distress. So those beautiful prayers are sort of culminating in that feeling of ultimate surrender, when nothing else matters but the pleasure of the Lord. It's a pure, it's selfless, and it's real. So if we can just go back to, I'm not going to now repeat it again, but because these subject matters are very, very deep and very, very beyond my capacity, to be honest with you, but I will try my best to go back to verse number 3, which is Trinadapi Sunichana, Tarorapi Sahishnana, Amanina Mana Dena Kirtanya Sadahari. So that verse number 3 is one I thought we can just go a little bit in depth because it's the verse that explains how. So how can we get purified, and how can we develop those feelings for Krishna? And I think that's something we can, it's relevant in our daily lives, in the sense that that's why we are here, right? In Krishna consciousness, we are trying to develop as a devotees, we are trying to approach Krishna. And sometimes with so many instructions, do's and don'ts, we might get a little bit lost in what to do and not to do. And just to sort of reinforce this, there is just a beautiful verse that will sort of point out more on this, on the humility and love, which comes from Srimad Bhagavatam 7:7, 51 to 53, which I'm just going to read quickly. You cannot please the Supreme Personality of Godhead by becoming perfect brahmanas, demigods, or great saints, or by becoming perfectly good in etiquette or vast learning. None of these qualifications can awaken the pleasure of the Lord. Not by charity, austerity, sacrifice, cleanliness, or vows can one satisfy the Lord. The Lord is pleased only if one has unflinching, unalloyed devotion to him. Without sincere devotional service, everything is simply a show. In the same favorable way that one sees oneself and takes care of oneself, one should take to devotional service to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is present everywhere as the super soul of all living entities. I think these verses beautifully encompass the idea of devotion, that we can only achieve Krishna if we give Krishna our heart. And one of the processes to give Krishna our heart is to become humble. Now, we have a different concepts of humility. One of them is, I don't know, am I allowed to ask questions?
Yes, certainly.
Yeah, so I would say, just whatever comes to your mind, there is no right or wrong answer. But when somebody tells you as a devotee, oh, Prabhu, Mataji, you need to become humble, what do you mean? What it means to you? What do you think of, I'm going to be humble? What is it to you? Humility. How do you see that? Just anybody can say.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Danvat Pranam Mataji. This is Divya Kurangi Dasi.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. My understanding is, please correct me if I'm wrong, that humility means that when we take shelter of the Lord in a complete humble state of mind, knowing that not my wealth, not anything that is with me, no power, nothing can save me, but only the shelter of lotus feet of Hari that's my only shelter. And in that mood, when I take shelter of the Lord, that is humility.
Okay. But how do we express the humility then? What's another, like if somebody say, oh, be humble, does it mean, okay, I'm going to walk around with my head down and just pay obeisances to everybody? For example, I don't know, I'm just saying, like, is that humility, or are we talking about something bit different?
Yeah, Mataji. So one way of taking shelter and being humble is taking shelter of our spiritual master, Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru, Srila Prabhupada, senior Vaishnavas, taking physically the remnants of their lotus feet, the dust, and also following their instructions in a very humble mood, inquiring from them humbly, and following their instructions sincerely.
Okay, that's a very nice answer. Thank you. Anybody else?
Hare Krishna Mataji. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
It's about feeling lower than everyone else and respecting everyone more than what you are. That's, for me, that is humility.
Okay. That's kind of a good answer, but I'm not saying your answer regarding to your answer, but I'm just saying in general, sometimes we can see devotees that can tilt too much into, when we say feeling lower than everybody else, that can sometimes bring us into position when we feel we can't do anything, or we can't do services, or we can't do this, or we can't say that because we are lower than anybody else. But there is a good news.
Yeah.
You can forget all about it.
Okay. Okay.
Because that's what I was trying to lead here about the humility, the deep humility, the finer, as we go on and purify our heart, we understand that humility is actually, it's a state of heart, not necessarily expression on the outside. Because if you see the devotees like Srila Prabhupada and different gurus, when they're preaching, they're like lions, isn't it? They don't come across as a very kind of necessarily meek and humble, right? But they're totally focused on some service and using their free will and independence to serve the Lord with their ability, with their talents. So coming to this question of humility, well, I wanted to encourage devotees, not saying that any of you are like that. I'm talking from my own experience, that many years I spent feeling like what you said, oh, I'm lower than anybody else. I shouldn't speak. I should, it's like I shouldn't exist almost. But then was I happy? Not really. I was feeling quite down, actually. I just felt I'm just sort of plodding along and this is it. But then we speak to senior devotees, you speak to devotees who are a bit more mature and who actually understand how devotional service is performed, what is actually humility, what is devotional service. And as we dig deeper and read the Bhagavatam, we can see that humility is not necessarily external expression, but it's actually carrying the desire of the Lord and Guru in our hearts, and whatever it takes to fulfill that. And sometimes the order of the Guru means you need to be bold, you need to be, you need to just get out there and get out there and preach. Sometimes you have to do book distribution. That means you need to be brave and you need to show some oomph, right? You can't just be standing on the street and just doing nothing because you're being like, oh, I can't look at anybody and I don't want to stop anybody. It shows that pleasing the Lord is superior to our own happiness or distress. Even that means if you have to get out of the comfort zone as well. But I would say every individual is very dear to Krishna. He says there is one thing in spiritual world that Krishna doesn't have, and that one thing is the love of the jiva, of the conditioned soul. And that's the one thing that Krishna craves. So we can't give anything to Krishna, but all we can do, we can give Krishna our love. And to develop that love, we need to be bold, we need to accept who we are, and then we need to work on ourselves so we can wake up that love and we can offer it to Krishna. I know this is a bit subtle thing, and I don't want to get into all psychology thing, but a main point is, as a devotees, we need to find our feet. Krishna's, we have varnas and ashramas, which means we act according to our nature. We need to find our talents. We need to find what we are good at, and then we offer that to Krishna. And then it's natural thing. Then it's organic. Then we are happy, right? We are happy in Krishna consciousness when we do something we feel in tune with. We understand, yeah, I'm good at this. It's okay to feel good about something. Yeah. So humility is understanding all these things and carrying on serving no matter what. And that sort of reflects in our relationship with devotees, in our relationship with our Guru, in our relationship with Krishna, that in our service to the Lord, like, okay, here is example. Sometimes we can say somebody is doing wonderful service, right? So somebody doing really wonderful service, everything is, ticks all the boxes, looks wonderful. And then next moment you talk to that devotee and that devotee is not treating you very nicely, for example. And then we're a bit confused, like, but how is it possible? This devotee is such a good devotee. Look at how beautifully he does the service, or she does the service. But what's wrong here? We have a sort of conflict. So the conflict comes when externally we put too much emphasis on doing visibly things that sort of everybody will go, oh, wow. But internally, we sort of neglect our personal development and question ourselves, and like in the first and second verse of Shikshashtakam, finding out the weed and finding out the bad things in our heart that we can accept, acknowledge, accept, and then work and then weed them out. Right? Does it make sense? It's a subtle thing, right? So in order to purify ourselves and take the weeds out, first thing is to have a knowledge what is weed, right? We can't, otherwise we're going to rip everything out, right? So recognizing the weed, recognizing our own flaws is the step number one. Second step is not feeling depressed or down about it, but accept, right, yeah, I've got all this stuff. Let's get to work, right? And third, even if it's all this, I'm so contaminated and fallen and rubbish, I have desire to serve Krishna, no matter what. And even if devotees see all my anarthas, so be it, but I'll serve Krishna, right? Oh, I'm just reading here. I heard something nice once. Low self-esteem is thinking less of oneself. Humility is thinking of oneself less. That's brilliant. Very nice. We have to serve with confidence to please Guru and Krishna in a humble mood. Very nice. Selflessly, not wishing praise. Good. Okay, I have a little question for you. In the line of Trinadapi Sunichana, okay, we say we shouldn't be wanting the praise and stuff, but how many of us felt sometimes, I wish sometimes devotees say thank you. I wish sometimes devotees sort of kind of, yeah, nice service, job well done. Is that, how does that fit? Who would like to try on this one? Is that Maya, wanting to hear some sort of reassurance and kind of, you're doing all right?
Mataji, if no one wants to, can I take a,
Yeah,
can I
sure.
speak?
Go for it.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for this question, because I was thinking about this also, and I fell in this trap, that wanting encouragement and, thank you for service. And then I realized that we don't get it, especially when we want it at that time. It might come some other time. So if we are going to rely on that, then our service mood is not the right mood and we might get discouraged. So the best way forward is not getting into material way, thinking praise, but spiritual way, that right, it is my service from the soul, not body, and I want to please Krishna and my Guru Maharaj. I have taken Diksha from. So if this pleases them, then that's it. then that is my biggest reward. And secondly, I heard in a class that if you just pray to all the devotees, your Paramatma to their Paramatma, and begging them for blessings, okay, they don't say thank you, it is fine, but if they can bless you, then that will be the fuel of your devotional service. You will move forward when Vaishnavas bless you. So yes, you can definitely ask for the blessings, but no, if they don't express gratitude, it is fine. It is absolutely fine. So blessings are valuable, Mataji, I thought. So I'm trying to really follow this. I'm still, as you said, I have to get the weeds out of my heart. There are many anarthas, but I'm working on it. As you said, that once we accept, then we work on it. So we should not get depressed, but move ahead with, good desire and prayers to Guru.
That's a nice one. Does anybody else want to speak? Thank you so much. That's very, very nice. Okay.
Can I say something maybe?
Yes, Prabhu. Of course.
I think it's how we take it, you know. There's loving exchanges between devotees, and if we take that praise as a loving exchange, it nourishes the soul.
Mhm.
But if we take it, want to feed the self-ego, then that's not so good, because you know our bhakti is dependent on some linkage to the self-ego. So I think it's not necessarily a bad thing if it's taken as reciprocation, loving reciprocation between devotees. It can be it can be good. But if it's just taken, you know, to feed the false ego, then that's an obstacle.
Yeah, definitely.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
I have two questions.
Oh,
for
you
you.
need to speak a bit louder.
Oh, louder. 1 second. Okay. I have two questions for you.
Fire
Can you
away.
hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. How would you define arrogance? Number one. Number two. Why would you say carrying your guru or his instructions or anything of that sort, or this loving deep um, existence of Lord in your heart, or carrying out what your guru has to tell you, would be called humility? Why would that not categorize or classify as service?
Okay, I'll start. Sorry, yeah. Go on.
Yes. So I'll wait for you to answer my first
Yeah,
question.
I would answer the second one first because it just
Thank you.
came to me. You can categorize it. Of course, this is again personal perception, but I would say it's a humility because in order to carry on the orders and to actually, how to say, maintain, because when we talk about the order of a guru or Krishna, it's not something just guru tells you, okay, cook me a lunch and you cook and that's done. I'm talking about like, you know, when we carry out the order throughout our lifetimes, like we follow the principles, we chant Hare Krishna, we try to do some service, we try to preach. It takes perseverance, it takes humility in sense that when the challenges comes, when the world hates us, when everything comes down crushing, the humility is something that will cushion us from giving up that service. But I'm not talking about humility just going around like Om Shanti Shanti. I'm talking about profound humility. Then we actually understand our place as a servant. And no matter what, we carry on. It's like with a child, no matter what child does to us, we're not gonna reject the child. We're gonna carry on because we love them, right? So that's like a natural thing. But with the order of a guru and Krishna, I just felt that humility is something that is absolutely necessary in order to carry on throughout our lifetime. And that would be opposite of what you asked the first thing, what is arrogance? Arrogance is thinking we are better than anybody else. And by that mood, when we think we are better than anybody else, that sort of puts like a break in our devotional service and life in general. Because again, arrogance is we can say that's sort of an emotion when what we feel, and we feel like we might be better in something, and say somebody cooks something and you are a better cook, and somebody cooks something, you go, oh, you know, what's that? You know, that's rubbish what you cook. You know, you should see how I cook, right? So arrogance is something when we sort of we're missing the point that even if we are better cook, devotee made a huge attempt to make something, and because of that effort and attempt and probably love, their offering actually might be accepted by Krishna, even if it's imperfect, comparing to our offering that might be perfect but done with the pride and like arrogance. I'm so good, right? So it's very, I mean, arrogance is a very wide term. It's not easy to kind of define it because there is lots of circumstances when we can express that arrogance. But basically, it's something that we do to make us feel better on account of putting somebody down. Does it make sense?
Oh, yes, it does. Like you said, it's quite wide, and you have nicely touched on it. Thank you. And I was just trying to, in my own mind, trying to understand.
You need to speak a little bit louder.
Oh, okay.
Okay, that's better.
Right. Okay. So I was just trying to figure out, really, whether humility is one of the ingredients that are required to carry out the commitments that your guru has asked you to do in life to reach a certain platform, right? Or whether, because obviously if you're doing something, like you said, you gave an example earlier. You said you've got somebody on the altar is decorating and doing the deities very nicely, first class, every single day. But when they turn around and they speak to you, they treat you like nothing, as if you don't exist. So the lack, as you say, humility, but then the conflict is they're actually following their guru's instructions. So the question is then, end of the day, whether carrying out your guru's instructions and keeping the Lord in your heart, I'm not sure how you're going to keep the Lord in your heart if you're not humble to start with.
Exactly.
It's a catch-22.
No,
it's not. But because it's like
I'll
taking the
tell
steps.
you more.
It's like taking the steps forward. You're taking one step at a time. So I just wanted to make it very simple and understand and simplify it for myself. What is actually humility? Because
okay, so I will tell you again, we need to come down to earth sometimes, okay? We get philosophy, we get teachings, and we get hooked on it, oh, pure devotee. But we often forget we are not pure devotees. Well, not yet. But yet we try to behave like one. Like I'm detached. I don't say, but when I said about what you said, for example, you're doing something and people ignore you and stuff. Now we are going back to basics. When those who read Bhagavatam and those who read scriptures and Prabhupada Lilamrita will see there is one thing very important there. There are loving exchanges between devotees. There is lots of love, expressions of love and respect towards each other, genuine love. Yet, when we sometimes come in association of devotees, that becomes very cold and impersonal. And that's what was going on when I said, what's wrong with sometimes just saying thank you and saying you're doing okay, right? Because at the end of the day, we are not yet pure devotees. So we have our needs. As a human beings, as a contaminated human beings, we have a need to be encouraged. I'm not talking about the false ego, just, yeah, you're doing great. Yeah, I'm so, but we're talking about the genuine person when you just feel it's just nice and encouraging if somebody senior or junior or anybody says thank you to you, do something, and they just like a loving exchange, what Prabhu was saying. And I would say, and to everybody who is listening here, it doesn't cost anything. Say more thank you to everybody, show appreciation, show your love, show your encouragement, show your support to people around you, not just devotees, anybody. Show that you care, because ultimately Jivara Svarupa Hoya Krishna Nitya Das, every living entity is an eternal servant of Krishna. And that's what we need to start seeing, that every living entity, every devotee is dear to Krishna. How we treat, there is a saying, if you love me, love my dog, right? So can you imagine how Krishna, I don't know Krishna's mind, but I know from the Shastra that Krishna is very fond of devotees who treat his devotees very nicely and make devotees happy. So one thing we do often forget is in the name of Krishna and serving a guru, we have like a blinkers that makes us go like just one way. We don't see, as we go in service, we are crushing everyone around us without thinking. We just, oh, I'm doing my service, Prabhu. This is my guru's order. I'm doing it. But first of all, we are missing the point. Guru's order, guru is a person. He asks you to do something. How you execute that order, it should be done in a mature, sensible, and loving way, not fanatical and just sort of like that, because that's where Vaishnava Parad happens. So we are causing ourselves to actually, instead of progressing, we think we are progressing, but we are not. Otherwise, how can you tell what category we are in? Well, are you happy most of the time in Krishna consciousness? Do you feel like, yes, I can't wait to chant some rounds, I can't wait to serve? If you feel like that, then you're doing things right. If you don't, then we need to take a step back and start analyzing, okay, I'm doing something wrong. And most of the time we will find we don't treat each other nicely. And we get those things like me and guru, which is Kanishta level. That's Kanishta Adhikari, only sees Krishna, doesn't see devotees. You know, those who want to read can go to Bhakti, Nectar of Devotion, Nectar of Instruction. Srila Rupa Goswami beautifully describes the behavior of a devotee and what Vaishnava is. And it doesn't say ignore others and behave like, you know, I mean, when did we see Srila Prabhupada behave like that? Anybody saw Srila Prabhupada behave like, this is the order of my guru, everybody get out of the way? I don't. I never read anything about that, like Srila Prabhupada did anything like that. On contrary, it was opposite. He was very welcoming, non-judgmental, accepting, and humble. And that's what humility is. Carrying the order with intelligence, with love, with respect towards everybody else, and depending on Krishna. So, any more questions?
Hari Bol Mataji, that is so wonderful. Thank you so much for explaining the meaning so nicely. And I feel that, especially I speak for myself, that we need to have more and more of these classes. These are such important reminders that I think I need from time to time, really. Because so many times we become distracted. We go far away from our goal. We miss the basics that you have explained today. It's the basis, how to serve, in which mood to serve, and the love and the encouragement, and how to build a positive, good community. That is so important, because you are so right. Many times we get treated badly or we treat others badly, and we don't realize until it becomes like a big aparadh. And if we have this kind of reminders very frequently, then we will be saved from actually committing aparadh or hurting someone. I speak for myself, Mataji, because I was also mentioning that I always say that I'm a practicing devotee. I'm not a devotee yet either. So I believe that, and I really want to make improvements within my own behavior and attitude, because that will please Guru and Srila Prabhupada and Vaishnavas, I think.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, sometimes we just need to go back to basics. I mean, if you read Prabhupada Lilamrita, if you listen to any Prabhupada disciples when they speak about the old days and how it all used to be, it was just normal. Devotees, you know, we are supposed to use our intelligence. We are supposed to use our discretion. We are supposed to just see, hang on, what is Vaishnava? What is a devotee? You know, we become those sort of confused living entities who are trying to present something that we are really not, thinking that that's the right way. But that, again, not to offend anyone, I mean, this is, I fall in that category as well. It's our lack of understanding about Krishna consciousness, that Krishna is a person, Guru is a person, devotees are personalities. We are a person as well. And as such, we are different. So we need to agree to disagree. That's one thing. Second thing, we are all in it together. We're all trying to serve. And guess what? Krishna accepts each service individually, because he will, if you're a good cook, you cook for Krishna. If you're a good preacher, you preach. But we shouldn't try to compare ourselves with others. Like some devotees are really good in what they're doing and they're famous or whatever, but then we shouldn't try, oh, unless I do that, I'm not going to be, no one's going to care. No, that's why we need to be self-aware. We need to understand, what's my service to Krishna? Don't worry about others, but ask yourself, what can I offer to Krishna from your heart? Because what Krishna says, I just read to you, Krishna doesn't care about you, how perfect we are in what we do. What Krishna wants is that we offer things with a sentiment. We offer him with love and devotion. Krishna, isn't it? Patram pushpam phalam toyam. Krishna says, offer me water, flower, but when you offer it with love, I accept. Very simple. But that requires self-awareness, that requires introspection, that requires us hitting a pause button and just thinking, again, don't worry about others, but think, what can I do? And what can we do? We can do a lot. Each of us, every person you meet, say Haribol, smile. Okay, maybe after COVID, you can give them a hug. We can show them some sort of support. If they do some service, oh, how wonderfully, this is such a nice service you're doing. And you will see the change in your attitude, your mood, your heart. You will suddenly become truly connected with Krishna. Why? Because that's all we need to do. We need to learn how to love. And if we don't love devotees, we cannot. There is no way we can love Krishna. It's absolutely zero chance that we can say, I'm going to love Krishna without loving devotees. It's impossible. So that's why we need to have a good look at ourselves, but not getting depressed about it, but just think, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Let me try. Be positive. Express, if somebody's junior to you, give them support. Don't like criticize them if they do something wrong. So what? People do things wrong all the time. It doesn't matter. See the good. They're trying to do something. Yeah, say, oh, that was a great attempt. Try again. You're going to get it right. Right? But we all like to say, oh, yeah, look at this devotee. I can do this blindfolded. So it's in here. We need to, ourselves. We can't control others, but we can control ourselves, and we can make a change. And I just want to, because time is running out, this is just the last couple of things. Can we do 5 more minutes, Prabhu?
Yeah, sure.
Is anybody still there?
Yeah, we all here still.
Okay, so 2 things. This is something to take home, yeah? First thing is something that Lord Chaitanya, so this is from the book Gauranga by Jayapataka Swami. And this is, I don't want to read all of it because it's long, but quick, when Sri Advaita Acharya invited Lord Chaitanya to come, and they had the first meeting, Lord Chaitanya said to Advaita Acharya, oh, so wonderful to see you. What blessing do you want? And Lord Advaita Acharya said, no, I don't want anything. So they were going back and forth. So it says, after much, no, you have to listen very, very carefully. After much insistence, Advaita agreed. All right, if I must take one boon from you, then this is my desire. You please let those souls who ordinarily do not have the opportunity to become God conscious develop pure love for you. Those who are ordinarily unfortunate, those who are ordinarily not having the opportunity, may they be the recipient of your special mercy. May they be able to achieve your mercy and get this highest benediction of life. This is my special request. Lord Chaitanya replied, Tatastu, so be it. But then Lord Advaita said, no, but that is not all. This is only the first part. This is the interesting one. I also ask that those persons who are very proud of being very spiritual, being great devotees, that are proud of being great brahmanas or kings, and who think that because of their material so-called position, they deserve to get your mercy, and out of their pride, they neglect the devotees of the Lord. Out of their pride, they offend the devotees of the Lord because they think that they deserve your mercy. Let them not get your mercy. Let your mercy not be given to those arrogant people. Lord Chaitanya also agreed to this. Now that's a powerful thing. That was Lord Chaitanya's promise to Advaita Acharya, that certain category of people will get mercy, but certain category of people, even including devotees, might not get that mercy. And now to finish on a positive note, on a more positive note, this is about the power of the holy name. And you all heard about the Jaga and Madai's pastime, right? Everybody knows that. But not many know what was happening in Yamaloka at the time of Jaga and Madai. So, in the Chaitanya Bhagavat, there was a pastime of Jaga and Madai being delivered. Jaga and Madai were like top special criminals in the universe. They were born Brahmanas in the Brahminical family, and they knew the scriptures. So they personally researched the scriptures to see what are the worst sins a person can do. They specifically and consciously tried to do all the sins. If to beat up a helpless person was more sinful, they would go and find a helpless person and beat him up. If having sex with the guru's wife or the brahmana's wife was worse, then they would go and rape some brahmana's wife. They did it specifically like a checklist. Whatever were the worst sins that they could do, they were trying to do all of them. This was ridiculing Yamaraj and creating a whole lot of karma. And apparently Yamaraj had a special architects in the hellish planets that were making custom-made hell for them, where they could undergo severe punishment because they were doing super sinful activities. Then suddenly Jaga and Madai were delivered by Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya, and all their sins were forgiven. So everybody was amazed. Yamaraj's assistants had written down all of their bad activities, and it took something like 27 different warehouses to store the details of all the karma they had done. It was unbelievable what they were doing. So anyway, when Yamaraj heard about this, he fainted. Why he fainted? He fainted because he understood the mercy of the Lord, that even those rascals were so bad, they got delivered. And because he fainted, Yamadutas were very worried. And just happened that Lord Shiva passed along, and then Yamadutas were like crying, oh, Yamaraj is gone. We don't know how to wake him up. Lord Shiva said, no, just chant Hare Krishna. Yeah, he said, Yamaraj is not in shock, he's in ecstasy. So please chant Hare Krishna. So they started to chant Hare Krishna. And then in Yamaloka, all these Yamadutas and accountants were having a big kirtan to revive Yamaraj. When he finally came back to consciousness and looked around, after everybody having a big kirtan celebrating how Lord Chaitanya is delivering the fallen souls. By Lord Chaitanya's mercy, there was much less work for Yamadutas. Actually, it says that at that time, Yamaloka was emptied because everybody got purified and left Yamaraj. So for some time, there was no job for Yamaraj. So how wonderful is that? That no matter how bad we are, there is a hope that by Lord Chaitanya's and Nityananda's mercy, we will be delivered by chanting of the holy name. So he says that those Shikshashtakam prayers we should chant every day, and before we chant our japa, and that can help our meditation. Okay, so anyway, I'll finish here before I get told off. I think we covered some of the prayers and the linked with the humility and the behavior and how we treat each other. So it's all interlinked. And yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Malini Nitai Mataji. As you were speaking, I was making lots of notes, lots of realizations there, and some profound learning we can take away from today's session. So our gratitude to you for sharing your realizations and also from your reading. So before we close today, I'd just like to ask if there's any devotees who would like to share any reflections, personal reflections they had from this class, or any questions that they may have for Malini Nitai Mataji.
Please come again, Mataji. We really enjoyed it. Haribol.
Yes, yes, definitely. There's a consensus here, I think, that you should come and share your realizations with us again. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna Mataji, thank you so much for the class. You make it sound very achievable and practical, progressing in Krishna consciousness and not having to worry so much about being good enough, but just going and doing it. So thank you very much.
Because that's what it is. Krishna consciousness is a very simple process. Srila Prabhupada gave us everything. Chant Hare Krishna, do some service, develop your relationship with devotees. That's it, simple.
Hare
Be
Krishna.
yourself and serve Krishna. Add Krishna to your
Lovely.
life.
Thank you so
Haribol.
much. Haribol.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah, what I liked, Mataji, is what you just literally said now is be yourself. You know, whatever, we've got a funny hairstyle or we've got a bit of extra lipstick on when we start, when you want to keep it on, you know, just be who you are. And that's what I like. And just for everyone in the group, that Malini Nitai, I've known for 3 odd years. She's my mentor. And I'm so fortunate to have her association every 2 weeks. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Wonderful. And thank you for taking the initiative to invite Malini Nitai.
So let us all say 3 times, Gauranga!
Gauranga! Gauranga! Gauranga! Haribol!
Gauranga!
Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna. See you all next week. Thank you, Malini.
Thank you.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. All glories to Vaishnava.
Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo
Anantakoti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Mataji.